see it hit the ground.
Right.
If someone taps the side with a hammer, this will come forward too.
I don't have enough ass pounds to do that.
Yeah, there's one of your earplugs in, someone give me a hammer.
All right, Todd with Jeep Speed Shop. Here we have my guinea pig Jeep, my '08 Jeep JKL two-door. So, as you can see, we cut it in half. We're gonna make it longer. So, this is just a quick video of this Jeep, but we cut out these joining pieces that join the rear half of the frame to the front half of the frame. And these are the new sections here that we're going to be installing to lengthen the Jeep 10 inches. And we're going to lengthen the Jeep in the middle, so right behind the driver's door. But first we're going to do the frame. So we cut the frame up, well, basically pulled the slugs out, but it was kind of hard because I added this cross member here for my triangulated 4-link rear, and there are slugs like right here where the tube went in. They welded here to weld the pieces together. Well, there was one in here and can't get to it from here, as you can see. So it took a little work to get this piece out because of this weld right here. And this one here wasn't that bad. We got it from the outside, and then you got to cut out these welds here to pull the tube out. So that was the same on both sides. And so going to the front, I had a cross member, and so you can see kind of a square piece cut out. We had a cross member I had bolted here with some slugs, so we just cut this piece out to pull this piece out because the slugs went into the outer piece and then the inner piece. So another weld here. So in this piece here, we had to cut that out. Had to cut these all out, all the way around, but there's no inner weld on the front, like in the rear. So didn't have to cut it up here, but I have this gusset here that I added, this piece here, this glove part, that so I can hook my lower control arm brackets to. And luckily there was not a weld inside here, so that made it easier for the fronts. But there is this one though, this part here. So the tube came inside here and then they welded it right there, and we had to cut that weld out. So, you know, it's a little bit of work to do this, obviously. And we can kind of go over it a little bit, but we had to do the same on this side too. You can see the square piece that's cut out. So we'll add all that later. Yeah, we're getting there. Something I've been wanting to do for 10 years now, and finally came to the point where it's time to do it. And this is the frame portion of this stretch, or this conversion. So this is just a part of it. I guess this would be video 1 of stretching the frame on my '08 JK two-door, which we're going to make it a 10-inch longer Jeep in the middle, and then we'll get to the body section in later videos where we're going to actually section the Jeep right here. So right behind the door, we're going to stretch it 10 inches. All right, well, frame first, body second. All right, here we are putting the frame back together. So now we got to do some measurements. Obviously we're adding 10 inches, so we're going to add 10 inches to the new tube that we're installing. And we are, what I would tell you if anybody else was doing this, measure the distance between here and there, and the same in the rear. My rear hasn't moved. This did move 1/4 of an inch because we took measurements, and we got height measurements, and then we also used a tram gauge for length measurements so we can get this square and straight again. When you do this, make sure you take measurements. But this is all holding up pretty good. And this is all, it looks like it's working out all right. And we'll do more and more video as we go, and I'll talk about measurements and stuff like that because there's not much out there as far as information. So, but it looks like we're going to be adding 10 here. to what it was before. So we measured the old piece and then added 10, and we're gonna put it together and gauge it and see where we're at. All right, we're getting there slowly but surely. So we got the rear parts of the rails in, and then we'll be putting the fronts in soon, and then talk about what we got going on. All right, so we're putting this JKL frame lengthen together. The measurements are a little bit hard to find, but we came up with this to make this Jeep part 10 inches longer in this frame rail piece. So we're measuring from, there's a hole right there, center of that hole to the edge of this oval hole. We're going with 45 inches on each side for the length. And then we did a diagonal from that hole there to this hole here to that hole there, and the same on that side. And we were on the money. So we did a diagonal, a length measurement, and then a level, which is boom right there. So just for the next guy that wants to do one of these, and we also put these legs in, weld the legs in level, all four corners, just so it was easy. So to level the Jeep before we took it apart, and so it'd be easier to put back together. It was a bugger getting the old pieces out of the frame. As you can see, the piece here on the ground, they were a little harder to get out, but we got them out, and that was probably to do with my suspension I put in this Jeep years ago. But it looks like it's working. So we are now 10 inches longer. So just some basic measurements, because there is none really out there. All right, well, here's the frame for our '08 JK two-door that we extended, that we are going to make into a JKL now. Added 10 inches. These are the frame sections that we added. We took out the old pieces, which wasn't easy on this Jeep just because of this one. But I think if it were a more stock Jeep, probably be simpler, because when I added all this suspension stuff, it made it a little harder to get the frame rails out. So, but got them out nonetheless. So that means it's totally doable, and so now we are making this Jeep a little longer. Don't know if I'm going to reuse the TJ gas tank or not. We're still debating on that. We are going to change out the rear end in this to a Dana 80. I'm going to get rid of the high pinion and put it in the black Jeep. But yeah, and this is the tram gauge we used to measure square and length, just so that we make sure everything's straight and square. And this is the front of the Jeep, and then there is the other part of the Jeep, so you can kind of see a tape line. We're going to cut that apart next week, because we got to add 10 inches because the frame is now longer. So, all right, well, I'm just doing a couple of videos of the process that we had to go through to get this Jeep stretched. I've only been wanting to do this for 10 years, just got so busy and things just got in the way. And so this Jeep just got put off, wasn't important. So this should help it a lot, because this thing did not climb very good. Every time I used to climb it, I used to pull the front wheels up, even though I had a tie down winch. But hopefully 10 inches should do it, and we're gonna lower it probably a couple inches too. And so here is the tub, which we're gonna cut apart next week. And about that area, we're gonna stretch it right behind the door. But we still got a little more wiring, a little more cleanup to do inside this Jeep, because there's been so many things added and subtracted and so on. So I'm gonna clean all that stuff up too. Get rid of what we don't need and add what we do, and get rid of the LS and put in a Hemi. So that's the goal. All right, well, it'll be video number next. All right, here we go.